Have you ever paused in the silence of your own mind and asked, why do I always find myself here again? In the same pain, the same mistake, the same failure? You leave a destructive relationship, only to fall in love with someone strikingly similar. You escape a job that suffocates you, only to accept another position that repeats the very same pattern. You promise yourself never to fall into the same trap, yet somehow, you do. This is not coincidence. It is not weakness of character. It is not simply fate. It is what I have named the repetition compulsion, the birth of repetition. When I began listening carefully to my patients, I noticed something troubling. Again and again, they would reenact the very traumas they wanted to escape. A woman mistreated by a cold father would seek out cold, unloving men. A man humiliated in childhood would unconsciously find ways to be humiliated in adulthood. It was as if their unconscious mind was playing a cruel trick on them, dragging them back into suffering. Why would a human being, so desperate to avoid pain, walk willingly into its fire? At first, I thought it must be pleasure-seeking. Perhaps, hidden deep within, they actually enjoyed it. But no, there was no pleasure here. There was only pain repeated. So what force was at work? The unconscious, the hidden puppet master. You see, your conscious mind is but the tip of an iceberg. Beneath the surface, vast and unseen, lies the unconscious. It does not forget. It does not forgive. It does not let go. The unconscious stores every wound, every terror, every humiliation you have endured. And when an experience has not been resolved, when a trauma remains unhealed, the unconscious pushes you to relive it. Not because it enjoys your suffering, but because it is trying, in its primitive way, to master it. The unconscious says, perhaps this time, if we repeat the scene, it will end differently. But alas, it almost never does. An endless stage play. Think of your life as a stage. Your unconscious hands you a script. The characters may change. A new lover, a new boss, a new friend, but the role you play is always the same. You repeat the lines. You repeat the emotions. And the curtain falls on the same tragic ending. This is the repetition compulsion, the relentless reenactment of unresolved pain. A child's first wound. Let me take you deeper. In childhood, you experienced your first wounds. Perhaps your mother was absent, even when she was present. Perhaps your father was harsh, critical, impossible to please. Perhaps you felt abandoned, unloved, unseen. And in your tiny heart, you made an unconscious vow. One day, I will fix this. One day, I will win their love or undo this pain. But instead of healing, you search for people who resemble your parents. You recreate the same wounds. You put yourself in the same prison, hoping that this time the door will open. This is why so many daughters marry men like their fathers. This is why so many sons become what they once despised. You are not choosing freely. You are repeating. Pleasure and pain entwined. There is another dark secret. Your psyche does not separate pleasure and pain as neatly as you think. When an experience is deeply engraved in you, it becomes familiar, and the familiar feels safe even when it is destructive. That is why you return to it. Better the devil, you know, than the unknown freedom that terrifies you. Thus, pain becomes home, suffering becomes comfort, and you wander in circles, unable to escape. War veterans and the battlefield of the mind. During the Great War, I observed soldiers returning from the front. Night after night, they dreamed the same nightmare. Bombs exploding, comrades dying, terror without end. Why did their minds torment them with the very scenes they wished to forget? Because their unconscious demanded repetition. To process what was unbearable, it forced them to relive it again and again. The mind, you see, does not move in straight lines. It circles. It repeats. It compels. The compulsion to repeat in love. Consider this tragic pattern. A woman is abandoned by her first love. Years later, she falls deeply for a man who is unreliable, distant. He leaves her. She falls again to another man of the same kind. She cries, "Why do I always fall for men who leave me?" The answer, repetition compulsion. Her unconscious is recreating the first wound, in the desperate hope of rewriting its ending. But love under compulsion is rarely healing. It is a cycle of sorrow, the cruel tyrant within. Now, some of you may ask, why would the unconscious torture us so? Why would it not simply forget? Because forgetting is not its language. The unconscious insists on remembering. And when memory is too painful to hold in thought, it is acted out in life. This is why I once said, unexpressed emotions do not die. They are buried alive, and they will come forth later in uglier ways. Repetition compulsion is the return of the buried. The trauma you refuse to face finds its way back into your reality. Freedom through awareness. But do not despair, for though the repetition compulsion is powerful, it is not destiny. How then can one escape it? By bringing the unconscious into consciousness, by daring to look at the wound instead of reenacting it, by saying, "This is not fate. This is my past repeating itself in disguise." Analysis, my method, is the pathway. Through dialogue, through self-exploration, through honesty, the unconscious begins to reveal its hidden script. And once you read it, you may choose to write a new one, a story of liberation. Let me share with you the story of a patient. A man came to me, crushed by failure. Every time he succeeded in work, he found a way to sabotage himself. He would arrive late, miss deadlines, insult his superiors, as if success terrified him. In analysis, we uncovered the truth. As a child, he had once beaten his father at a game. His father, humiliated, punished him severely. Unconsciously, he learned, if I win, I will be punished. If I succeed, I will lose love. So in adulthood, whenever he neared success, he repeated the punishment by ensuring failure. Only when he saw this, when he made the unconscious conscious, could he finally step out of the cycle. Awareness became his freedom. Your life as a mirror. Now, let me turn to you. Look at your life with courage. What do you repeat? Which patterns haunt you? Which mistakes seem to follow you like a shadow? Ask yourself, am I truly choosing, or am I simply repeating? Perhaps your relationships mirror the first love you lost. Perhaps your failures echo the first humiliation you endured. Perhaps your fears are not your own, but inherited from parents who never resolved theirs. If you dare to see the pattern, you have taken the first step toward breaking it. A final truth. So I say to you, repetition compulsion is not fate. It is memory in disguise. It is your unconscious staging the same play again and again until you notice. But once you see it, truly see it, you may choose a different ending. You may close the curtain on the tragedy and begin a new act. The past will not vanish, but it will no longer own you. Remember this. We are not doomed to repeat. We are doomed only until we understand. And once understood, the cycle breaks. The wound begins to heal. And freedom, true freedom, becomes possible.